So, man, I gotta retry that. I was in so many stages of this video's production, whether it was the first stage or like I don't know. It's just I've been doing a lot, and a lot of things come in the way. You know, when you're making projects and you're preparing for something, you will face things like that. I'm over here talking to myself right now. What the hell? So, when coming into this, I was very unsure. I was like, I don't know. But considering the fact that I talked a lot about it, talked a lot about this season, talked a lot about how I felt about its progression over when it was like ongoing, a lot about how there were things happening within the studio that was affecting its production. I talked a lot about that kind of stuff, and I expressed my sympathy towards the studio and its animators, of course. I'm trying to figure out how do I explain how I felt about this entire season. Of course, the season is I'd say a few months old now, maybe about a year now. Pretty old, I guess now, but this is just based on what I thought about it and me expressing how I felt about it. Like, as soon as you get in, it's definitely different. When you first get into it, it's definitely different. You can tell there is a stylistic choice difference here with the animation and the style of the show, of course. And when you see voice actors appear here, it's not much different. It's just that they're voicing the same character, just in a different art style than that you see in the original animation. So what I personally think about this season was it was very good. It gave us an animation for manga content, which I thought was really cool. A lot of different fights that are very important. We get introduced to Maharaga, probably the peak of the season, and you have Yuji versus Choso in the train station. Very cool fight. I absolutely love how Yuji's fights have he uses his surroundings a lot during his own fights. He uses his brain a lot during those fights, and it's very interesting how he faces people with such techniques like blood manipulation, but with just his bare fists and his pretty much just his body strength. Very interesting fight there. And of course there was Mei Mei's fight and Gojou's domain expansion. There was just a lot of stuff that happened, and how I felt about it was very good. I remember I gave it a perfect score. Personally, I felt as though this season had a lot in it that I wanted to see animated personally, as I am a fan of the manga, as I wanted to see this animated. I was like, man, when this comes out, this is gonna be insane, and it was. Right? Now the Blu-ray release obviously had a lot of extended stuff and extra cuts in the Sukuna fight and that kind of stuff. But this is a very, very, very good adaptation, and it's a very, very good anime. I would say there's a lot of character backstory stuff here. Like, there's a lot of explanations specifically for Nabara here behind her character. Very cool stuff here. It made me appreciate her more as a character. I noticed even in season 1, she came off as someone who didn't really like the crew, really. But then she began to develop as a character, and that was just, began to see character chemistry and seeing them work together. Very cool stuff in the first season, and it's just elevated even here. So, it's cool. I remember when I was watching, I was like, it was really cool, like the finale with Todo and Yuji versus Mahito, and just the different pieces that lead up to that, where Nobara fights Mahito, and, there's just so many things that lead up to this, to different points, in the second season that is just very, very, very good. And of course, the second season is split in two halves, but I thought it was a very, very, very good season. A lot of stuff in it, very interesting. The kind of things that are explained, and just honestly, just very cool, man. Like that's all I can say. It's very cool. A lot of story stuff, and the way it ends with Yuji, man, like you can see the effects of what the incident has had on his character, and what it has. You can see the scars. You can see what it's done. And it's even better because you can, after this point, you're going to be seeing characters like Yuta reappear again, and it's just very, very, very cool. There were definitely some cuts that didn't really make sense in the animation, but like I said, I think I understand what they're trying to say or what they're trying to do, so I just thought it was just perfect, and especially with what was happening at the time. It's just like I completely understand. I completely understand where the animators are kind of forced to give an adaptation. They can't really do anything about that, especially if whatever's going on in the studio. They kind of just got to do it, and you can see the talent. You can see the work that they put into it, and it's clearly just amazing work. Like the fact that. Just the part with Mahito versus Yuji and Todo, and then how it escalates to Yuji versus Mahito, right? It just that part, right? You can see the animation work that has gone into that. It just flows perfectly to me. It flows perfectly. I think it's called Disaster Curse. One of those guys basically fought Mei. And it was a very, very, very cool fight because it explained a lot of her character and Ui. It explained the chemistry between two characters and essentially the kind of relationship that they have with each other. And I thought it was, very cool, very interesting how his technique works. Or her technique. I'm not sure how it works, but look, I had a great time watching this show, okay? And it was awesome. Absolutely amazing. You can see just the sheer talent of the animators on screen, and how they absolutely don't hold back when it comes to the violence in the show. I even pointed out how this is obviously ever since season 1, but the characters curse in the show, so they absolutely go all out to really hammer in that dark vibe of the show. They really hammer it in. So it's a very, very, very good season to me. Kenjaku's reveal, and the whole thing with Gojou and just Choso, and just so many things here. And it's just honestly beautiful. And you see previous characters from the hidden inventory, obviously reappear here, as the inventory takes place before the first season. So it to me, it just flows like water, bro. It just flows like water. I will say opening isn't really my cup of tea. I think it definitely does. It's definitely interesting how there's little details hidden in there, such as Toji and other things like that are hidden there. But personally, I did not think it was a good opening. But that is just my opinion on it. But yeah, I didn't think it was good. I thought it was cool, the fact that they hammered things in there and put little things in there to act as I guess special features or something. I thought it was cool, but other than that, it wasn't really my cup of tea. But it definitely does fit the vibe of the season, as it is a lot of crazy stuff going on. Like we've got Dagon versus Toji. We've got Toji versus Fushiguro. It's just war, okay? It's just literal war. There's that scene where Nanami is just destroying that dude. This is crazy. I remember when I was watching, and at the time I was watching it with my friend, and we were watching it when the show was ongoing, And we were just like, dude, next week is gonna be crazy. Next week is gonna be crazy. And next week happens, and we're like, dude, this is insane. Even when we got to the point where Eugene Toto was happening, even that was crazy. And when we were in the early stages of the season, we were like, dude. And there were some points where I was like, I'll wait for the next episodes. I'm not gonna watch this week's because I just don't want to. There were points like that, but other than that, man, I never really had a session like that with any other anime. This is something that this is an anime that gets me interested when something like this happens, and I think it is because of the battles that take place within the show. Just the fact that they're very not just skill based, but it takes a level of intellect to fight in this show. You need to have understanding of cursed energy and all kinds of stuff to really get an edge in the fight. It's a very interesting show in this regard. This is very interesting, and it's just cool. And there's just different kinds of characters in the show. So everyone has like their own favorites. I think my personal favorite out of this whole season, personal favorite fight will always be Yuji and Toto. It was absolutely insane. Okay, like I thought it was. Every time it happens, I'm just like, yep. It's just like the dynamic duo at this point, especially with the manga right now. It's just dynamic duo. Like you just can't stop having it. It's so cool. So in regards to Maharage versus Sukuna, I've seen many fights before, but this was more so a show of talent, skill, and the character's abilities on screen. Right? Even the first phase where like Sukuna's kind of like boxing this guy in the street, right? That's like the first phase of the fight where I'm just like, okay, this is showing us showing us skill instead of just just straight like crazy animation. All right, we're just right now just seeing his skill, if he could take this guy on, and then we later on see this guy's like skill. Like he's cutting through buildings. He's like, it's insane, literally just insane, to where the animators are just doing their own thing. Like that is how insane it is, and they're going all out in here. Like it's insane, and it's not even just this. This isn't even like the tip of the iceberg, dude. Sukuna versus Jogo, man. Like that is a fight that was just insane. Like absolutely destroyed this man. There are fights in this show, and I've talked about plenty so far, but this is like insane. Like we've got fights that take place that are just wild. Yeah, like and I think that's where the fraud allegations came from, where people were putting it like in reverse. But look, man, I think that's awesome, the fact that people are having fun with it. But what I will say on the fight is that the fight was just insane. Like it just seems like he just has a record of just going crazy on people, man. And in this fight specifically, Sukuna is like just demolished, man, just throwing him around. And of course he is trying to go all out. Jogo's trying to go all out against him, but it's just clearly it's not enough. Clearly it's not enough. Like I mean, dude. And then the introduction of Toji, just man, like this season was just crazy, bro. This season was crazy, man. Like just absolutely insane. And of course, I will compliment the soundtrack. The soundtrack definitely did a lot. It definitely did a lot. It definitely raised the stakes. It definitely showed the severity of what Sukuna was doing. It definitely put us in the shoes of Yuji for once. Until the opening was playing when he was having a breakdown. But other than that, it was insane. In regards to him breaking down, getting back up and realizing that he has a role in this fight and he has to do something, I personally felt as though that wasn't really needed to put the opening there. But I understand they're trying to make the show, I guess, not take him seriously, that kind of thing. So I understand it. I just feel as though if you're trying to make people feel sympathetic, you kind of have to get that out of them, not do that kind of thing, because people are not going to take it seriously. But yeah, man, I felt a lot in that. And whether it's English or Japanese, you kind of see the character just break down in both. Yeah. A lot of deaths as well, a lot of things that occur. It's just insane. And yeah, man, this arc is literal war. Like, I mean, just characters, whether new or old, just going all out. And the finale was just a beautiful way to end it off. That, like, the animation work is just insane. Now, of course, right? Of course, there is obviously, like, it is difficult for them to keep it consistent, that kind of thing, and I completely understand. But dude, like, this just they got the point across. I think that's what I'm trying to say. They got the point across with this, and it was just insane. And I think it deserves a perfect score. Like, this was just crazy. Personally, for me, it is something that I would watch if I'm looking for action. It is just, and I think that's the thing about JJK, is that when you're looking for, action and a very interesting story, you have it there. And with what happens later on in the source material, you kind of have even more to watch. And that's the thing, is that the concept of the techniques of the characters you use, it just keeps you in the show. And I thought that was just, so cool, man. So cool. And that's just really how I feel about the show. It's awesome. It's just awesome. So I think overall this season was very good. Right? Whether it was the team attack with Yuji and Fushiguro, or just the different things that occurred in this season, just the disaster that Sukuna has inflicted, or the teaming up with Yuji and Todo, or the fight between Choso and Yuji in the train station, or just these various different fights that occur over the course of the season. It honestly was just perfect. Just perfect, not only for the action part of the show, but also for the story. I think that's a big thing too, is the story. Because of that, it elevated the story a lot more. Personally, the explanations and narrations behind various different things that occur in the story was something very interesting to me. And I found myself having a great time watching the show. A great time, and I debate whether or not which season is better, first season or second season, because I love the first season, but then I also love the second season. But then I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Both are really good, so I'm not sure. But both are really good, and I think. But when it comes to, I think, well, obviously I'm gonna go first season, because it has a lot of. It was more prepared for what it was trying to do, and it had a lot of pre-production on a lot of stuff that happened before it came out. So it was a very good thing to watch, and but with the second season, it faced a lot of issues, and that's just what happens. That's just what happens. But yeah, man, they did a phenomenal job, and they did it with what they had. So it's just honestly just great. But I will say season 1 is definitely better. But season 2 is definitely something good when it comes to watching manga content, and I think that is awesome. So overall, I will say I'll give it like an 8 out of 8 personally. It is a good anime. Just a lot of things that are interesting. A lot of funny clips online. A lot of different things that have happened over the course of each episode's release. Definitely had a good time looking at that, but just overall, just a great show. Just a great show. Had a great time watching it, and yeah.